Hello, everybody. Good morning and welcome back to the Retail Bulletin for the second time in 2022. Here we are with another morning of webinars ahead. We'll actually be with you until around 1:30 today, pretty much back to back, 4 sessions running throughout the morning. And we're looking forward to it very much indeed. Good morning on this rainy Wednesday, 6th of April. I hope you are warm and cozy wherever you are. Someone seems to have reactivated winter after that lovely couple of weeks weather we had a while back. But we can hold on to hope that there's better stuff on the way, I'm sure. Retail Bulletin's really excited this year. You would have remembered me mentioning in February that we actually are going to have a real live in-person event this year. We are busy planning for that in the background. We're really excited. And it's on the 8th and 9th of November at Birmingham NEC. It's the Retail Bulletin's 20th year as well. So we'll be celebrating that on the Tuesday evening. It's a 2-day event with an overnight shindig in the middle. Sounds brilliant. And I'll be there and we'll be there. And we hope you'll be there as well. So, without further ado, for those of you that are regulars to the TRB, you'll know that I'm Darren. I'll be your moderator for the session today. I am involved in a few businesses, Liberty Music PR, Scrubbed Men's Skincare, and Williams Harding Consulting, which is my own business as well, and do a bit of this, which I always really enjoy doing. But enough about me. We want to hear about our panel today. And once we've heard from them, I'll remind you as an audience how you can get involved. I can see our audience numbers there. So good morning, welcome. Let's hear from our panel first, and then we can talk about how you get involved. So good morning, first of all, to Ben. Hi, Ben. Please tell us about yourself.
Yeah, good morning, Darren. Good morning, everyone. My name's Ben Holland. I work for a company called Extreme Networks. Currently head up enterprise and retail markets for Extreme. So Extreme are a leader in wired and wireless networking. And I've been here for 10 years, worked very closely with a lot of retail customers, some of the largest retail customers in the UK, alongside René, who's also on the call. I'm going to introduce himself in a moment.
Great, and thank you, Ben, to yourself and the guys at Extreme Networks for sponsoring the event this morning as well. We really appreciate it. We can't run these events without our sponsors and our friends, so we do appreciate it very much. Thank you. René, tell us about you, sir.
Yeah, good morning all. My name is René Schrama. I'm the Managing Director for Peak Technologies here in Europe. Peak Technologies is a system integrator that focuses on digital solutions in the retail supply chain. So we're working across literally the entire supply chain from third-party logistics, DCs, warehousing, all the way up into front of store. And I'm really pleased to be here today. So thank you.
You're very welcome, sir. And I'm pleased to have you here. So thank you. Eleonora, last but not least, good morning to you. How are you doing?
Hello to everyone. Thank you for inviting me. I'm Eleonora Pantano. I'm Senior Lecturer in Marketing at University of Bristol, located in Bristol, UK. And my research activities mainly relate to the development of new retail technologies to improve customer solutions, strategies, and management, with emphasis on the role of artificial intelligence, emotional analytics, and machine learning algorithms.
Well, thank you for being with us today. And I should add as well that you may have noticed 2 other names on the programme, Trevor, Gordon and Emma from 3. Unfortunately, they're both unwell today and unable to join us, but we do send them our best wishes. And we are looking forward to having them back on a future TRB panel. So we're going to kick off. It's the Retail Digital Transformation webinar. This is in a couple of parts actually across the year. So go to the Retail Bulletin website and check out when you can see the other parts to it. Indeed, check out all the events that we're running this year throughout June and beyond, through to that live event that I mentioned in November. If you want to get involved this morning, please do. It's your webinar. So somewhere on your device, there will be a Q&A button. Please use it. If you want to ask a question to one of our panelists in particular, or you may just have a general question that you want to throw out to the panel and I'll ensure that I moderate that appropriately and get it to the right person. So I promise you every question that gets asked will be answered. How's that for a pledge? So get involved and we'll kick things off. Ben, I'm going to start with you, if I may. How do Extreme see the use of in-store networking solutions, and in terms of them helping improve the customer experience?
Yes, good question. I think it's a question that's changed a lot certainly over the last 10 years that I've been involved with Extreme and working with retailers. And I think a lot of those retailers are at different stages on that kind of improving that customer experience. We've worked with many going back 6 or 7 years ago, and they were looking at sort of wayfinding technologies, utilizing solutions like iBeacons to understand better how people move around the store. I think one of the things within all sectors really, but especially retail is the sort of proliferation of devices coming onto the network, connected devices within the network. I think it's now seen as a must-have, a solid networking solution, not just a nice to have as it has in the past for guest access, but more of a key technology for retailers and something that they require from an enterprise nature. So just as an example, some of the projects that we've been working on with customers around improving customer experience, some of the largest grocery stores in the country looking at wayfinding solutions, also working with some large shopping malls, the likes of similar to Westfield that you see in London around this wayfinding solution. So giving their customers a better experience, being able to understand where stores are, or even more specifically where products are within stores. So we're probably all familiar with using wayfinding technology, potentially at airports, similar places like that. We're actually seeing it being brought a lot more into the retail and in-store environment as well. Another one, I think probably post-pandemic, this has really come about, and we've seen it a couple of times, the increase in voice and video applications. So exactly like the application that we're on now, Zoom, being used within stores for people that don't necessarily feel comfortable going back into stores, at least having that initial interaction with the customer over a remote session, being able to be shown around the store. So of course, this is not going to work for all retailers, but for a lot of retailers, maybe furniture stores, places like that, being able to give them that tailored experience, walk them around the store, show them different products, and then potentially set up a second meeting as well. And of course, those voice and video applications, as probably everyone will know on this call, are heavily reliant on wireless technology. If you're not close enough to the router or the wireless access point at home, you can have issues with that. And we obviously discussed it just before we started on here. So voice and video applications, we're seeing more and more as a sort of key technology trend to improve customer experience. We've worked with some apparel retailers, shoe retailers, where they're looking at sort of augmented reality. So being able to virtually try on shoes or different clothes. I think a big thing as well is connecting the online and offline worlds within retail. So, walking into a retail store and not finding necessarily the product, the size, the fit, the specific model that you're looking for, being able to arm employees with iPads, tablets, whatever they are, and being able to show customers the different options that are available online. But you also see it with same-day pickup as well. Something that we use, whether it's through fast food applications or retail applications, being able to collect products within store at the same time. And all of this is fundamentally driven by technology within the stores. And I get asked at the most sort of basic layer, that's the networking solutions that are being used. So I think those are some of the key ones that we worked with. I haven't been involved in many projects myself in terms of checkout free stores yet, but I do see that as something we'll probably see a lot more of. We've certainly, some of the larger likes of Amazon, for example, I think some of the other grocery retailers are doing at the moment. And I think that will become one of the key drivers moving forwards over the next 5 years. Again, I think simplifying, becoming more flexible for the consumer, will no doubt increase the number of people, the footfall that they get within the stores. And I think
I think Aldi have done that format in Greenwich, I believe, and it's next to a Sainsbury's local, which is the good old self-service pay yourself format. And apparently some of the locals are still using the Sainsbury's because they're finding the Aldi quite confusing as well, and they don't even know how to get in the door, kind of thing. So there's something about unpacking it still for people to make it feel less intimidating, might be the right word, and enjoy the experience.
I think it's certainly probably a generational thing, for sure. Yeah. If you'd ask my mum to go into an Amazon or a self-checkout store, I don't think she'd get on too well with it. But it's a generational thing, and I think I'm a man of convenience, and that would work quite well for me. But I think we'll see more and more of it. But you're right, people still do want that human interaction. So there's that balance, isn't there?
There is. And Ben, can I just say sorry for your the loud barking partway through your answer. You can see I've been joined by a little furry one here. Scamp is a regular for people that attend TRB events. She does tend to make unwanted entrances sometimes, and something seemed to spook her in the corridor, so she came running to me at high speed. So she seems to have calmed down now, so apologies. And
no, I thought it was something I said, so that's good.
No, nothing you said at all. And thank you for such great content in the opening answer as well. I'm sure our audience will have questions, and I'll give you a rest and have a coffee for a sec. René, I'm going to come on to you. What key requirements in retail are driving this digital transformation of which Ben has been speaking about?
Well, so we hold quarterly business reviews with all our core customers, and there's definitely a theme evolving in the last 6 months of the high levels of uncertainty in the business climate. I mean, we've had the COVID experience, then we're coming out of lockdown, we're going back in lockdown, how far are we going back into lockdown? Then there's the whole issue around freight. So all the supply chains are impacted by availability of ships and containers, and now Shanghai is completely locked down again. So what is that going to mean? And of course, I was speaking to one fashion retailer. They said the CIO said their freight cost has gone up 6 times compared to what it was a year ago. So those kind of cost pressures on the business clearly means that they're looking for ways to maintain a cost base that they can remain competitive in the market. And partially, I think that is driving the need for looking at ways of doing things better and more efficient, and digitalization is one of those options clearly that is available to them. Similarly, I think the second overarching theme that we keep hearing is that the shopping pattern has changed. So from 3 years ago, where we were still quite heavily reliant on going to our shopping trips and to the shopping malls and supermarkets, etc., then suddenly none of that was available to us for a period of time. So we all were kind of forced into going more into an online shopping environment. And now we've come out of that. Retailers are really researching and trying to understand what is the role of the store these days. Is it just a showroom now, or is it a place where people come for an experience? So for instance, Boots in Covent Garden has a store where you have a rehydration zone, and you've got an Instagram zone and skin scanning, etc. Rituals in London again has opened up a store with a spa in it where you can try out all the products, of course. So it's that combination of shopping versus entertainment that seems to be a theme that is coming up. And linking into what Ben just said, that therefore means there's far more interaction in those kind of environments. So you've got digital screens. You've got Tommy Hilfiger has in their store in London has big, massive signage screens where you can interact, because all the items in the store have an RFID tag. So I could put my shirt into a little box, and up suddenly comes on the screen what it could look like on me. And all of that clearly is driving more of an entertainment type environment. Whereas on the grocery side, it seems to be the other way. It seems to be more about how frictionless can I get my shopping experience to be. And you just mentioned Aldi Shop and Go. Tesco is trying the same in Holborn as well. So it's all of that is it's focusing on either cost control and then the customer experience in the new world, whatever that new world is actually be. And it's that level of uncertainty that drives retailers really to look at their investments on how can we either entertain the customers better or drive our cost base further down. So I think that's really are the two common themes that I keep hearing.
Yeah, that cost control piece is interesting because, every business is being slammed at every single touch point of their supply chain, their buying function, everything is costing more. And so that kind of efficiency driven through tech is going to be even more prevalent, I think, whilst, as you said, trying to find the holy grail of what experience should look like as well. That Boots in Covent Garden, yeah, it's pretty special, right? It's like a whole another level of Boots plus plus plus. So yeah, good example. Thank you, sir. Take a sip of something and I'll come back to you shortly as well. Eleonora, thank you so much for waiting patiently. I'm going to come to you now. What is the role, or what will be the role of technology in an offline experience? So do you think tech will replace traditional human employees?
Thank you for the question. So we noticed it also before COVID, a huge tendency in introducing new technologies to provide a new experience for consumers, as anticipated by René, to entertain consumers while shopping. However, during COVID, there was a huge surge in this technology also to reduce, let's say, human interaction, limit somehow the spread of the virus. So we noticed that many stores introduced more and more interactive screen, self-service cash desk, and app to collect the products without the support of humans. However, still the majority of consumers would like to have employees, or even if don't access the service of humans, they still want to see them and have the possibility to choose what kind of service they want, if human-based or technology-based, so that they have the feeling to have the control over the service and over the technology. So I don't think that the technology can really replace humans as a sales assistant. However, I expect to see more and more technologies in the point of sales, which would extend the offer in terms of product and service and connect more with the other channels of the retailers.
And in terms of, I guess, that human touch, and you said that people still prefer that. Do you ever see that reducing in the future? Do you think that will always be an important touch point and always needed by a consumer?
It depends also based on the generational cohort, because we noticed that young generation are more open to explore these new technologies if compared with older. However, we saw during COVID that also older generations approached more technologies like self-service cash desk, contactless payment, and there are even more technologies under development now, which will help to offer virtual touch also in online and mobile channels. Let's think about a technology which helps you to virtually touch the texture of a bag or a t-shirt before buying where you are online. So overcoming somehow the limits of online channel.
Got it. Okay. I just thinking sort of future thinking around, if Ben's point earlier around the, the younger generation embracing Amazon Go and Audi Go and so on, and it's, slightly older generation, aren't using it maybe as much. As we move through generations and people grow up used to this kind of tech, will it just end up replacing all human contact? That's quite a depressing, bleak thought of the future, because I still like the idea of interacting with humans and I still love shops, but That could just be my view, but anyway, but maybe hear from our audience on that as well, see what they think out there. What do you think out there? Will humans be obsolete in a few generations' time? Will retail experiences be fully online and tech and physical spaces? You'll be greeted by robots, or will there always be some human element? Let's see what your opinions are. Thank you, Eleonora, for now. Take a sip of something and I'll come back to you shortly as well. Ben, coming back to you. What are the key initiatives and drivers for networking change with the retailers that you're seeing currently?
Yep. So, as I said, been working with retailers for quite some time. So, see a number of different drivers, different requirements. I think there's certainly some commonalities within them. So, probably one of the biggest things that we've seen recently, and I guess one of the cooler sides of networking within the store, is in terms of being able to understand the customers better. So everyone understands the offerings that wireless can provide, and the connectivity side of it, and guest access and connecting in-store devices. But actually, the layering on top of that, and as sort of additional functionality to retailers that's there within the solution, is being able to understand how customers move around the store, being able to understand footfall traffic, the data. So we did what we call a proof of concept with one of the probably the largest coffee shops in London across 5 of their stores. We were putting our access points, our devices within each of those coffee stores, and the amount of data and information that we're able to give them in terms of footfall traffic, how many people walking past the store compared to coming into the store, the conversion rate, the length of time that people were staying within a coffee shop. And actually, I kind of spoken a little bit on it earlier, they were very keen to get people in and get people out of the stores, out of the coffee shop as quickly as possible. That was data that they had never really truly understood. And of course, there are footfall counters within most shops. For us, it was about providing them with an additional data stream that they could use, that they could correlate against their existing data. And the impact that can have on things like marketing, merchandising, operations. So where stores are specifically located, where you get a high, footfall traffic or conversion rate for things like marketing, merchandising. We could see what storefronts seem to be working when we have a higher conversion rate of people coming in, was really fantastic for them, and allowed them to make a lot of those changes from a marketing and operations perspective. So, and this is again all something that I don't know whether everyone's familiar with it, but even if you're not connected to the wireless when you go within a store or when you walk past a store, your mobile device is constantly pinging for wireless connectivity many times a second. So these devices in the stores are able to pick that up. And of course, Apple have tried to be a lot clever in recent times with encrypting information on devices, but we're still able to collect a lot of this information and understand the conversion rates of how many people come into a store, how long they stay in store for. So I think that's a big one, but also how people move around a store. So some retailers want to get as close to that kind of IKEA model as possible, and have people walk past everything, or at least have people walk past products in a certain order, whatever that order that may be, that they see they can achieve the greatest revenue from. And that again requires a very well-designed network within the store to be able to pinpoint exactly where you are, Darren, at any point in time within a store, and how exactly you move around that store. For things like, as I said, layout. And it's all about increasing revenue, of course, for these retailers. And I think the retailers that we see as being some of our most successful customers from a revenue and profitability standpoint are the ones that are adopting this kind of technology and understanding their customers better. So that side of it, I think is probably one of the biggest ones that we've seen and will continue to see in terms of the footfall and the data that we're able to collect. But then also the increase of critical services and applications that are being used in store. We have customers that are connecting fridges to the network. Doesn't sound like it's that important, but if these fridges stop working, they can't sell any of their chilled goods. And things like payment applications. So for some of the fast food chains that we have, that increase in the likes of Uber Eats and Deliveroo using their applications within store, really, really critical services that are traversing the network, that are traversing the wired and wireless network. If they are not getting, if that service is not optimized and those applications aren't performing as they should, that can have a detrimental effect on the way that retailers and hospitality customers transact. And that's something that people may have heard of, the term SD-WAN, kind of coined within the networking market. That's really how Extreme are addressing that with our SD-WAN solution. So making sure that the critical applications and services that retailers are using are prioritized. And that might be over the Facebook video or Instagram that other consumers are doing in the retail stores, but we need to ensure that the critical applications are getting the service that they need.
I think what's encouraging about what you say as well is it's clear that retailers are getting it in terms of the need to invest in this work to really deepen their understanding of what their customer is doing, at various touch points as well. So encouraging to hear. We've got some audience comments in actually, so let me just pick these up. So I was asking about what will happen in the future. So this is from Anonymous. Thank you, Anonymous. It would depend on the retail environment. There's still a lot of customers who would prefer the human interaction of having a product explained or demonstrated so they can ask the questions they have without having to select from a multiple choice option. So yeah, good point. This is from another Ben. Thank you, Ben. I think human interaction will always be needed. People buy from people and we rely on their expertise and personal validation to help make purchase decisions, certainly with high value or luxury, but not grocery shopping, for example. Yeah, that's a really good point. Eleonora, you've added a little extra comment here, so thank you, Eleonora. I'll come back to you soon as well. But shopping is a social experience, and the tech will need to support this. It won't replace social interactions, but it might extend beyond the physical. So yeah, some really good points there. Thank you very much, audience. I appreciate it. I am going to come to you next, René, for your next question. And we do have an audience question in as well, but I'm going to come to René and then back to Eleonora, and then we'll start going to an audience question too. So thank you, Ben, for that answer before, and thank you, audience, for your additions. René, what is the future holding for the store in this kind of, I don't really like the word, but omni-channel world that we live in now?
Shall I get my magic ball out? I think
yes, please do. We're doing a bit of that vision gazing today. So tell me, what do you think?
Well, let me share with what I hear from our customer base, and I think everybody's trying to figure out that question. To be honest, I don't think there is a ready-made answer. But if you think historically, the store footprint in, for instance, in the UK, you would have decided that on demographics, on population statistics, on income, wealth, etc. And then you come up with a coverage pattern for the UK and where you would want to have your stores. Nearly every retailer we speak to is reevaluating that because the shopping experience has changed, the footfall patterns have changed. But also, more importantly, the online volume of shopping has increased so substantially that most retailers are struggling with fulfilling that demand in a timely fashion, because at the same time, we've become used to having things delivered next day, if not the same day. So the retailers we're speaking to are looking at how can we work out a store footprint that is optimal for fulfilling from store scenarios, as well as having my main distribution center. So how do I orchestrate my online fulfillment, and what is the most efficient way? And that's a combination between cost and speed. And that in itself drives another interesting topic, because in order for a store to become a fulfillment center, you need to know what's in the store. And most retailers traditionally did an inventory check maybe twice a year or 4 times a year, depending on what the financial compliance was asking or dictating. And of course, there's always a discrepancy with what the system says is in the store and what is actually in the store. So we're seeing certainly from our customer base a significant investment and an accelerated investment actually on technologies that allow retailers to stay on top of their inventory in store. So the more accurate that store inventory profile is in the IT systems, the more precise I can be with deciding how I will fulfill my online order, because I rule out a level of error that otherwise I might have to factor in. So that therefore means I think that retailers will very proactively be looking at which stores am I keeping, which stores am I moving, which stores am I expanding, which stores maybe I turn into a dark store, because really my footfall has actually dropped off so far, but it's still very useful to have as a fulfillment point. So I think that is really the main thing, the main theme that I keep hearing, and it's literally nearly every retailer that I'm speaking to. So that is very much in the focus area for the level of digitalization, and they use mobile technology connected to the network to do more precise inventory moves and locations, or they go as far as having RFID. So then they have item level precision, and then within RFID you can either do zoning, so you have it, is it in the back of the store or the front of the store, or there's now technologies from the likes of Zebra technologies where you can literally see everything real time where it is in the store. And we're seeing that particularly in the higher value goods items, that is of real value, because I want to know that my electrical, I won't name any brand names, but my electrical item that is worth maybe £300, if it starts moving, I kind of want to know, because it shouldn't be moving. So it's that kind of level of visibility that we're seeing is really of interest.
Thank you, sir. And if anyone's got any comments or questions they want to add or ask on the back of René's comments, please do use the Q&A function. It's there for your use. Eleonora, I want to come to you about the scary AI, and really talk about expectations of AI offline and online. What are the new AI applications that we should expect to see in the next couple of years, do you think?
In the short term, we can expect to have a better recommender systems. So technologies that online and offline can better match our interests and preferences and our past purchases. If you think, for instance, about Amazon, let's say that 5-10 years ago, what they suggested to buy was not very relevant, but now they are able to suggest something more interesting for us, and I expect to see this more in the future. And also new technologies to allow faster and more secure payments. There is already a huge research in terms of biofeedback technologies based on fingerprint or retina scanning or face recognition to automatically pay. So these two are the most likely to have shortly.
That facial recognition piece is quite widely in use now, though, isn't it?
Yeah, there are still some issues because there is a reluctancy from customers. However, they would allow retailers to adopt these in the stores in change of a better service, better recommendations, so a sort of award for them. It is used in the airports at passport control, but not yet in the stores to uniquely identify customers. But the future is in that direction.
I had a facial recognition experience that I didn't expect yesterday with my bank, actually. So I was on my desktop doing a payment, actually, to my nephew for his birthday. He wanted cash, he's 17. It asked me to approve the payment through my app on my mobile, and to approve it, it wanted face recognition. I'd never seen it before. I didn't even know it had happened. It just kind of, it must have been some seamless update that's happened in the background. So for the first time yesterday, rather than enter a card reader and do all that stuff you do to send money, I just had to look at my phone on the app, and it approved it online for me. How cool was that? It was so much easier. I didn't even know it was happening. So yeah, I think it is definitely rising, facial. And can you see retailers using it more as well? You know, we're a retail bulletin. So can you see it being used in retail stores for some reason? How would facial recognition be used in shops?
It can be used for payment.
Yeah.
So rather than passing the contactless, let's say it's just the face recognition, but it can be used also to understand consumers' mood while in the store. So let's say if catching the data from the camera, theoretically speaking, we will be able to understand how they feel when they are in the store. If they are sad, if they are enjoying, they are happy, they are disgusted, sad, and eventually changing the lights or let an employee approach the person to provide the support. So there are different applications. I'm not saying that they are all useful and this is the right time, but we are researching on this to make it available. And if you think about the movie Minority Report, which is quite old now, more than 20 years, but there is a scene where Tom Cruise enters a store and there is a virtual shopping assistant recognizing him and suggesting pairing shoes and pairing products. So we are approaching that scenario.
Wow, is that 20 years?
Yeah, 2001. I usually use this example when I introduce the concept to my students.
Yeah, it's really scary, isn't it? I mentioned my nephew's birthday. He's 17 today, and I feel like it was yesterday. I hot-footed it down to meet him for the first time, like a day old, and it's 17 years. It's like, how has that happened? So, wow, 20 years. Well, thank you very much indeed. Any comments on what Eleonora's just said, please do get involved. Ben, I'm going to come to you with an audience question, if I may. This is from a gentleman called Graham. So thank you, Graham, whoever you are. We appreciate it. Graham's asking, do you know of any initiatives to introduce virtual reality shopping as it bridges the gap between online and in-store shopping?
We worked with a sports, not a customer of Extreme, but we worked on projects last year and discussed it with them around introducing VR within stores. So effectively, like almost like a changing booth, private booth that customers could go in virtually through digital interaction, try on things like trainers, whatever sporting goods that are effectively within that store or due to come out. They might not be in that store at the moment. And then through the same screen, make purchases and things like that. I've seen some of the, I think possibly the likes of ASOS, people like that, providing that type of service. There's applications that you can download on phone. I think Nike had it for a bit where you're able to effectively scan your foot, see what the shoes look like. So I think we'll see it more and more in terms of, I'm not sure exactly where in terms of exactly what you mean by VR, but things like headsets potentially are a thing that I haven't got one myself, but I know people that have, and whether that is introduced through retailers having applications that can be put in an iPhone or on a VR headset and actually have that virtual tour around a store. For sure, why not? I think it could happen in the future. Yeah.
René, any thoughts on Graham's question? So how it's sort of seeing that bridge, the gap bridged with virtual reality?
I'm definitely aware of a number of North American retailers having experience centers, as they call them, where in DIY, for instance, where you can actually try out power tools in a virtual reality world.
Wow.
And they literally have built an area where you can walk in and you can try out your chainsaw or whatever it is. But I think there's also an in-between step that is evolving. So you've got more and more store formats that actually don't carry any inventory, but you can experience the products that are there. And with a QR code scan, you can order it and have it delivered to your home. So IKEA is trialing out what they call rooms. So they build certain rooms and you can buy a room basically, but you can't actually buy anything in that location itself. There's a company called Situ Live in London. Everything in there is not available to buy except by scanning a QR code. And interestingly, they recruit drama students to actually as the shop assistant. So it's a proper entertainment experience rather than a traditional shop format. So I think before we move all the way to virtual reality, I think there's probably an in-between step evolving currently, where you optimize your inventory levels because you don't have to put it in every store, but you can still provide the shopping experience that people are looking for.
It's a great example. Drama students in store reminds me of the Hamleys model, where you've got the team singing, dancing in the doorway of Hamleys as you walk in. Eleonora, any thoughts on Graham's point? So how we might see virtual reality bridge the gap between on and offline?
Yeah, I think there are many technologies that can bring the gap, not only virtual reality, but the issue on which we should reflect is when the technology stop being supporting and start being distracting. Because at the end of the day, we can have a super fun scenario, super enjoying whatever, but where consumers actually don't buy because they are fully immersed in gaming that they don't buy. So there is a limit to the usage of the technology and perfect balance to still push consumers to have fun, but buy something.
Got it. Well, we haven't got any further audience questions in yet. You've got just a bit of time to do so before we wrap up, but I am going to start coming around to you guys for closing questions now, as 45 minutes has whizzed by already, and we'll look to start wrapping it up. But you still have time, audience. If you are with us, get involved. So I'm going to ask this to all of you, and I'm going to start with Ben. So the other two get longer to think about their answers. Sorry, Ben. What's one of the most exciting bits of technology that you're either working with or that you've seen, which is really improving the customer experience? And that's to all of you, but starting with Ben first.
Yeah, great question. There's a number, and I think I probably discussed a few of them earlier. I think for me, it's around the wayfinding capabilities that we're seeing in a lot of stores. It doesn't work for all retailers. I think you have to have a certain size of storefront, but some of the larger retailers that we're working with, grocery stores, I think it's been, certainly from my experience, traditionally very difficult to find products within large grocery stores such as Tesco, Sainsbury's, Asda, all of those giants in that space, and not having the 4G, 3G, 4G, probably soon to be 5G capabilities within a lot of those stores. So through their own applications, being able to find products easily, be guided around a store to find products. So if you have a shopping list, that when you go into a grocery store, effectively being able to take you around that grocery store in the quickest way possible to collect the items that you're looking for, I think is what some of the major supermarkets are looking at. So I think, yeah, wayfinding for me in terms of proving that customer experience is going to be a significant move for them moving forwards.
Thanks, and thanks for your contribution to the panel today. Really, really appreciate it, and also to Extreme for their sponsorship. René, close that off for us. What's some of the exciting tech that you've seen that's really kind of enhancing that customer experience?
Well, so clearly we build solutions around the Extreme Networks solution set. And one of the things that we are currently experimenting with is what Ben mentioned earlier, where retailers really would like footfall not just to walk past, but actually to walk in. And for that, you need to have a more dynamic front of store, basically. So we see the emergence of digital screens and serving up what may be relevant promotions. Now, traditionally, the merchandising department of a retailer would send out the posters for this week, and everybody would have to hang them up in the storefront. And now, if I have a digital storefront, suddenly I can try and figure out how I can manipulate the content that is being served up in those digital screens, relevant to the location, relevant to the time of day, relevant to the weather, perhaps even. And for that, we then therefore need to combine that with an AI engine of some description to start to make sense out of all the data that we now can collect through the extreme proposition. But we need to combine that then with what happens in the POS, so what is actually generated in terms of revenue, and how can I manipulate what I serve up, and does that actually then filter through into additional sales, additional footfall, etc. So for me, that is the real nugget that is currently we're focusing on, because I think that is every retailer would like more footfall, particularly in today's world when a lot of it has gone online. So that's a very exciting area for us.
Footfall's always been king, hasn't it? But even more so in the days that we live in now. Thank you, René, very much for your contribution to the panel today. Really appreciate your insights. Eleonora, no pressure. I'm going to ask you to wrap it up on this point, please.
Yeah, no, concerning two technologies that are quite catching for consumers. The first one is interactive storefront window. I saw for a limited stores for a limited time in a few stores in London, and I noticed that how much consumers felt attracted from interacting with the storefront window, and then they entered. And another technology is for virtual try-on, and I saw also in Selfridges for makeup, and when associated with the possibility to share pictures, etc., it was quite engaging, but especially for youth. But I will expect more.
Thank you very much. Thank you for wrapping it up for us as well. And thank you, Eleonora, for your contribution to the panel today. That is it, folks. We've got no other further questions in. Karen from the Retail Bulletin does want to remind you all, though, that if you want to get in touch with any of the speakers, you can do so via karenh@theretailbulletin.com. Or I'm sure I'll speak for my speakers. Hopefully this is all right. If you want to reach out on LinkedIn to any of our speakers direct, to follow up on any questions that you may have, or anything you want to know more about their businesses, please do so. All right, panel, all good? So that's it. Number one is down. Thank you very much again to a brilliant panel. We've kicked things off really, really well today. Looking forward to the next content coming up. Join us at 10:30 for that as we continue today's digital transformation webinar. For now, though, I want to say thanks again to Ben and to René, and to Eleonora, and to our audience, which actually got bigger during the session. So they didn't leave us, so good work, panel. And have a coffee, enjoy your morning, and do come back and join us again at 10:30 for the next session. For now, thank you.